it. So we have actually 4 people here who have various stages of, of their careers, have worked a lot in the whole fintech and financial systems as well as payment systems. Shrikant Rajgopalan has worked for several years in this industry. He's a young guy, but has worked for several years in the industry. Right now at Amazon Payments, and we'll talk about what he's doing there. Upasana Taku heads business development at MobiKwik, is also the founder of ZakPay, has worked at PayPal in the past. Madhu is currently doing his new thing, was until recently heading products at a startup called Transserve, and before that was heading prepaid cards at Visa, and is also for ex-Citibank. And Sampath is the founder of Instamojo, doing some really cool stuff on the web. So I want to have a quick interactive session, and we'll definitely have time this time for a lot of questions from the audience. I'll start with you, Shrikant. You've been at American Express, you've been at Nokia Money, you've been at NG Pay, and now at Amazon. And we have seen a lot of activity with payments in the e-commerce space. So would like to understand, from Amazon's perspective, what makes India interesting, what makes India different from a payments perspective, and what are some of the things you all are doing in India that you all have not been doing in other parts of the world?
Great, thanks. Just as a quick introduction, in Amazon Payments, I look after strategy and product. Simply put, my job is to make it easy for a customer once you say check out and pay. How do you make life easy for the customer? Right? So I think in India, as in many spheres, payments itself is still evolving. The infrastructure is coming together. Can you hear me?
Can you guys hear it? Yeah.
Thank you. I think we're at an interesting phase of the payments industry itself, and I've watched it evolve from deep inside. I think customers are finally beginning to trust that because of the kind of investments that have gone into security and two-factor we heard in the last session, that fear of my card will be misused is gone. Right? But I think that's come at a cost, because all the authentication systems, all the payment experience today have been designed in a PC world. Right? I mean, the assumption that 3DS makes is that the customer is in front of a fairly powerful device. He can do multiple sessions and finish his transaction. I think that ground has shifted. Right? We all know the story of how consumers are using mobile first and mobile only. I think the industry is at a stage where we need to rethink how do you make payments equally or better secured, but at the same time more usable, given that the customer is in a very different context today. Right? She's in a mobile device. She is balancing security and usability. And I think we as an industry have stayed at a 90s, 2000s stage. Right? It's easy to blame it on two-factor, but I think two-factor has got the industry to a stage where people have started using cards. We need to take it to the next level.
So we'll come back to what that means to the next level. And I noticed that you explicitly counted the customer as she is a woman, which is great. It's good to see that a lot of women are shopping on Amazon. So it's the right cue to ask the next question to Upasana.
Pay the bills, but.
So Upasana, you've been at PayPal, you've been at running ZakPay, and now focus more on MobiKwik. Tell us a little bit about how MobiKwik, we were here last year as well. It's evolved a lot over the last year. Would be good to hear what's happening at MobiKwik, as well as in general in the whole mobile wallet space. There are a lot of other players also that we're seeing. Would be good to get an update for everyone on the lay of the land there.
So I think a couple of things have happened in the last 2 years in India, which we are all privy to, which is that more and more is happening on mobile, and sort of Android nation is what we can call India now. A lot more things are happening on the phone than they used to 2 years ago. I remember last year when I was here, people were saying we are seeing 20 to 25% traffic coming on mobile. At that time, we were seeing 50% traffic on mobile. Today, we have 80% revenues on mobile. Given the use cases by which we acquire users, we are slightly ahead of the curve in terms of that. But I think mobile and penetration of smartphones and 3G, I think this has become important. And when we look at users, we look at two types of users. One is an evolved user like all of us, where we possibly have a mobile phone, we possibly have a laptop and also a tablet or iPad. And then there is the other user for whom mobile is their only screen. And that is the first way by which they found Google, they found Gmail, they found Facebook, and now they are finding things that they can do in terms of paying their bills or shopping. From those two point of views, we've seen explosive growth. And payments, as we know and understand, have seen very little technological innovation in India. At least that is my opinion in the last few years. And so digital payments continue to be a problem where payments fail. Banks still don't give us real-time confirmations for failed transactions. And those problems become 5x larger on mobile because speed of broadband versus 2G, it varies. And so from all those point of views, I think wallets are doing great, I think for us as well as for others. And by great, what I mean is that this month in October, we saw 15% of our revenues coming from third-party websites and apps, which means people were purchasing things on eBay, people were ordering food on Domino's or Tasty Khana, people were buying movie tickets, people were paying for their hotels, their cabs, all of these things using their wallet. And why are they using it? Very simply for convenience. People have figured out that these are n number of things that I need to do digitally, and why should I go through the 4-step net banking process or the 3-step card payment process? And hey, I want to buy this cool t-shirt on, let's say, bevkoof.com. I'm not going to save my card there, and I don't want to go through a painful payment. So wallet solves all these problems, thereby people are sort of adopting it in a huge manner.
So there's something subtle in what you said I'll come back to, which is wallets are already still being used a lot by the what you call evolved people, though I don't know if owning a cell phone, laptop, tablet and whatever makes you an evolved person. But we'll come back to that later. Madhu, you've been in this business also for a long time, both at first at Citi and then at Visa. And you see a lot evolving now, and Aadhaar is also going to play a big role moving forward. What are some of the trends you're seeing in this space?
Yeah, so what we had 10 years ago, I'll just step back and sort of look at how ATMs evolved. You had banks which had on-site ATMs and were directing customers to sort of don't stand at the teller counter, go to the ATMs, right? And then banks started going after bilaterals. Banks figured out that there's a huge cost in operating that, so they created a bilateral network. Similarly, you have today, a framework where there are wallets that are standalone coming up. There will be a phase of evolution where you'll have consolidation happening in the wallet space. You will find businesses which are running wallets now will figure out that there's a faster, cheaper way to sort of do it by sort of in-housing a wallet provider who is focusing just on providing the customer convenience and making it easy for the customer. That will happen faster than what happened with the ATMs because it took a decade for banks to figure out that shared networks are better. But in the digital space, you have ramp up happening very, very quickly. We have upwards of 25 million customers who are digitally savvy in India who pretty much cover the market that everyone is going after in this room, who would eventually want to have just one wallet where, for all their shopping, that they do online. It could be linked to their card account, or it could be a standalone wallet. I think that the user experience will sort of drive how that adoption is going to happen.
So Sampath, you're going after a very different segment, right? I mean,
yeah, I completely feel out of place
side,
already.
right? So can you tell us about your segment and the segment you're targeting, which is I think Upasana would say probably the not so evolved
So for
segment.
us, mobile is not happening yet. 20% of our revenues come from mobile.
Can you talk a little bit about what InstaMojo does for everyone?
So what we essentially are, InstaMojo is a P2P commerce platform with payments attached to it. Just to break it down into simple words, we enable micro merchants. For me, micro is your regular doodh wala who comes to your house or your paper wala. And we enable them to leverage internet and mobile at the same time to collect payments for it. Like if a doodh wala had to come to your home, right, he has to come every month to collect payments. If it's a big guy, ask a delivery guy to come and collect payments. We say, don't have to do that. Use InstaMojo. We have a framework which lets you collect payments by SMSing somebody, right? So that is our target segment, and we live and vouch by that segment. We call them micro merchants. So we have Doodhwala, Paperwala, your Kirana shops. We have, if you go up in the ladder, then you have SMBs like SMS vendors, resellers who are using us to collect payments. Because what I have seen the last 24 months of evolution of the company from nowhere where we are today is that there's a huge amount of activity happening on the supply side, right? When I see supply side, I'm saying consumer is the demand side, supply is the merchant side. Merchants have realized that, hey, internet, mobile phones, payments can be easier, and that means I'm in business 24/7. I don't have to go to a customer's doorstep at 2:30 on a Monday morning so that I can find him, right? I can go, my business can be there 24/7, people can pay me whenever they want at their convenience. So we are after that market, right? Also, I realize for this segment, the paradigm of geeks or technologists like us who are in this forum, we believe that we are in the business of using technology to help people. I think it's the other way around in our business. We are trying to help people understand technology and use it for own life and convenience, right? So entirely different paradigm for us. So that is how I'm seeing the business.
So what's interesting, at least just to not harp too much on Upasana's new expression for me for the day, but it's sort of a situation where it's an evolving merchant and an evolved customer, right? So his customer is more capable of actually paying on the internet through their mobile phone or through the web, but the merchant himself might not be that sophisticated. And what they have put together from InstaMojo's side is a way for a Doodhwala or a tiffin
we are
box carrier
essentially
to initiate a collection,
Yeah.
right? And the
We are
customer
digitizing
is,
a lot of cash payment that was happening. People are changing cash, right? There was no trail, no taxation, the exchequer. I think it will be very soon. After 5 years, if we do the right things, I think a lot of these cash payments are going to transform into digitizing it, right? So
it's sort of fascinating to me because until now, financial inclusion has been looked at getting the consumer into the banking system. And
you don't
he's
care about
approached it
them.
from the merchant side saying the consumer is already in the banking system, but maybe not the merchant, and how can I help them?
Yes.
Which is pretty cool, actually. So Shrikant, Amazon, you deal with large number of, because it's a marketplace model here. You have a variety of merchants, some of whom might be distributors, some of whom might be retailers. And we talk a lot about cash on delivery in India. That's been sort of the big thing in the past. And 2-3 years ago, we used to say 70% of e-commerce is cash on delivery. And now e-commerce is reaching much more people in the market, especially through the mobile. So do you see those ratios growing or reducing or staying the same? What are the trends you're seeing, and how does it change between, say, metros and non-metros?
Is this better? Right. I think it's easy to generalize, but I think if you look under the surface in terms of what's happening in the customer's mindset, cash on delivery, I think, is a function of two things. First is, e-commerce is 2 or 3 years in this country, and customers are still getting to trust, shopping from somebody they can't see, right? It's a new experience. It's been limited to metros. But once you step outside the top 10 cities, top 20 cities, you find that there is a huge latent demand there. These are customers who see the same movies, want the same Nike shoes, but you don't have the kind of malls around here, right? So for them, it's fundamentally solving an access issue, right? So customers want to buy the right stuff. As a matter of fact, when we sold the BlackBerry passport device, right? It's a 50,000 rupee device which sold out to 118 towns in India. Right? So that kind of gives you a sense of the kind of pent-up demand. What's beginning to happen now is that customers shopped online twice, 3, 4 times. They're getting comfortable moving away from cash because they know that if I click, somebody will knock my door and deliver within agreed timelines. So that trust is starting to build. Third, fourth, fifth time when a customer starts buying, and if you make it easy for him, make it super simple to pay online, we're seeing that shift happening. But right now, the entire industry is in growth mode. A huge majority of our growth is coming from new customers who still, at stage one, saying that I don't know whether it will come. I don't know whether it's a trusted experience. So if you aggregate the two, what you'll find is that there will be a secular shift of people moving away from cash as they get more comfortable. But at an aggregate level, I think this proportion of cash to total sales is not going to go down sometime soon. I think part of the answer also lies in terms of saying, how do you make it super simple for customers to use their existing payment products after you see the stuff, right? So one of the ways that we're doing it today is to equip every delivery boy with one of those MPOS terminals, the Easy Tap terminal. So we're seeing some shift over there, but it's very early days yet. Right now, I think as an industry, we need to get customers to trust shopping online, get them to say that, I'll get the genuine stuff, and then start building towards converting them to habit payments and, paying online. That's your question?
Still
Just
a lot of order online, pay on delivery. Yeah,
just a point to add there. If you sort of look at the way activations happening on a debit card, right? It's at 2.5x of what a brick and mortar store is. 30-day activation rates. We sort of
and by activation, you mean debit card
First
not
time
being used at ATM, but being used for
for a purchase. We've had a whole host of customers. I think predominant set of that, early activators typically never actually turn up at a POS location. The reason being that there's an exciting offer happening on an online store which is available only for the first time purchase. A movie ticket, you buy one movie ticket, the second one is free. So you are not naive to using a payment product. You use it, but there is no motivation for me to use it at a brick and mortar structure, right? So people just don't use it beyond the online world. Is an observation.
It's interesting because you're saying in the face-to-face transaction, actually, going to the ATM and withdrawing cash and paying the retailer was just as convenient as paying the retailer by card. But in the case of a remote transaction on the web, actually, now people are starting to use the debit cards because they can't otherwise buy the products.
Also, a lot of e-com don't provide cash on delivery in certain locations, right? So which is where card activation rates are going up.
Very good.
So I wanted to add something on that topic. So a bunch of merchants are now asking us for solutions where people can prepay some part and the remaining part is COD or is pay later, like the escrow model of Alipay or what PaisaPay, eBay used to do in India. So those kinds of models are coming around the same demand, that it's an original sort of COD user, but now the user is willing to prepay some part of it, so to speak.
Now, related to this also is the whole, fashion of EMI in India, right? Which traditionally has been the credit card phenomenon, but we have seen a few banks also offer it on debit. How do you see that evolving, and do you see the demand for that growing? And Upasana, I'd like to know also from the wallet perspective, right? Clearly, we have not seen such a product yet from a wallet. If you want to announce one today, that would be great. But how do you see that opportunity as well? Maybe you can go first.
So in terms of EMIs, I don't have any sort of comments to make. We have not used that product on our gateway. On the wallet, there are interesting new features that we are working on. I talked about prepay, pay later, have a standing instruction on a wallet which you can have while you can't have it on a card in India. So those kinds of models we are working on, but specifically for EMI, Vasu is laughing, but believe me, it is possible. It is possible within the regulatory confines.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's all I wanted to say on the EMI topic. Yeah.
Okay. Shrikant, you want to talk about EMI and how is that taking off in the e-commerce world?
I think it's a very important product for the customer because it helps them, like EMI as a concept itself, buy something they've always aspired to, not be limited by affordability at the point of purchase. And depending on the bank that's offering the rates, I mean, they have that sense of comfort that it's not usurious, right? So I think as a product, EMI is opening doors for, generally for consumption. The fact that it's not now available online is just adding that element of selection to it, right? Earlier, if you wanted to buy I'm just making this up, a television set, you first had to go to a store around the corner. You were limited by what inventory he carried and the availability of EMI there. I think with EMI online, I think that that one constraint has gone away, that you have limitless selection. Anything that you want to buy and you never knew existed, for example, is now available for you to buy. And EMI is just removing that affordability from the equation. So it's a great product, but I think there is some regulatory move to make it a little more, how should I say, disciplined from a consumer's perspective, so that they don't over leverage themselves. But I think in all, it's a great enabler. We're seeing a lot of adoption from customers in small towns as well. The one thing I wish would happen is that we don't limit EMI to just 20 million credit cards, right? I mean, that's artificially limiting the audience of customers who can do that. But I did hear you mention EMI on debit, but if there is a solution which opens up 400 million debit cards or even 100 million bank accounts, that could really change the market.
Sorry, just a point to add to that. The place where a wallet will play a role in this is if you have an online store which is retailing a white good product, you have an NBFC sort of ready to package a product and peddle it through the wallet, right? I purchase a television set, it's 50,000 rupees. There is an NBFC who's ready to offer an EMI. They have the ability to do a underwriting online. What you don't have is really an identity check which Aadhaar will sort of provide. So if you sort of embed Aadhaar and the wallet into the wallet and you're able to sort of offer an NBFC linked product, you really have a solution which is as good as a credit card EMI, which can actually sort of fast track adoption and products that don't exist in the market today.
Actually, that's a very interesting point, because you're saying it's a transaction-specific credit card or line of credit, as opposed to a general, open credit card that can be used anytime. Sampath, you gave me some really cool examples of the, dabbawalas in Mumbai and things like that who are starting to also get engaged in using your platform. Where do you see, the role of wallets, for example, in your platform?
I think I'm the auditing all the questions that you'll ask me. I think wallets in India is much ahead of time.
Is?
Much ahead of time.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. I have a reason for that. When I think myself as a consumer, yes, I will have a MobiKwik wallet and a Paytm wallet and a Citrus Pay wallet, and there are multiple wallets, right? They have. I put, say, $1,000 in that wallet. Where I'm going to use it? Like my daily, say, a person like me, I have like 20 places to pay every month. I'm not talking about so I'm not going to go to buy an Amazon or a Flipkart every month. It's a commoditized product. I can buy only one T-shirt. I'll pay for my kids' school. I can doodh wala, paper wala. I'll pay kirana guy. So I have like 20 places I'll pay. Wallet comes in the picture when a lot of innovation is happening on disrupting and getting those supply side in the game in the first place. I don't have a single wallet destination today in India where I can park my funds, so that just for sheer convenience I can pay. So that is why I feel wallets are a little ahead of time, but it's just ahead of time. So time can be next year or 2 years hence, right? But today, as a consumer, I don't see any reason why I need to use a wallet. I think the other bit, I think only companies who have shown interest or credibility of using a wallet would be companies like MobiKwik and Paytm. Because clearly speaking, if you look at the way people are consuming prepaid telecom networks, that's amazing, because that's the only thing I'll pay. Definitely, we have to talk to somebody in SMS, right? So that is the starting point, but I think you need more and more people to join on the wallet supply network, at least for me to start using a consumer wallet.
Can I say something?
Absolutely. I was sure you were going to get into a fist fight.
No fist fight. But I just want to say this, that so I think we all know what is the number of digitally paying users in India. So I think out of those, somehow, by God's grace or the user experience, without spending any marketing dollars, 10 million Indian users have trusted MobiKwik, and I'm sure a similar number with some of the others also.
I'm sure there are, I'm sure.
And I want to address 2-3 things that you raised. 5,000 merchants accept MobiKwik today. Not all 5,000 are seeing a transaction every day, but a significant number are seeing a transaction every day using the MobiKwik wallet.
I can throw numbers again. So
No, let me
online
please.
retail is like 0.5% of the entire offline retail of the world.
Can I complete?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I think what you said is the right thing. Can I have a single wallet where I can pay everywhere? So that is the same thing we want to do. So a user might want to drink coffee, might want to buy food, like, I don't know, burgers or
Yes.
Dunkin' Donuts, whatever you eat, might want to order food. so which is where the online delivery of food services come in, or whether it is travel. And shopping, you are right, comes last. A, a product which is enabled in all these places will only truly make sense, and I think we are a little away from that. But just two examples that I want to give you, which a milk cooperative and a farmers cooperative or union that we are talking to wants to use a wallet, because the way supplies work is somebody in a village collects the milk from all the milk producers and goes to the drop-off center every day with their milk truck. And the money needs to be given to each and every milk producer. And right now this happens in cash or in paper khata is maintained. And then on a fortnightly basis, each of the milk producers go there to get their money. These guys want to adopt a solution where they have a wallet, via an SMS, they know every day this is the money they have earned, and on the nth day when they go there, they'll be able to get the money for that. Similarly for farmers, by the way. So I think smartphone is not the only channel. I think wallet as a product can be used in other use cases. And I'm not saying that we are the only ones good at it, but I think a lot of people.
But I think the point that Sampath's making, the subtle point there, is also that unless we sort out interoperability, right, because consumers are going to have multiple instruments, and unless all of these can ride on common interoperable rails, we will start creating silos, and that's never going to work in the long run, right? So I think that's something is an open point. I have one last question, and I know Sangeeta has already told me 10 minutes ago that we were out of time, which is, but you know, it still says 10 minutes here, so I'm going to go with it. But just one quick question, you know, we all listened very attentively to the Aadhaar session, at least most of us did. What do you see as the impact of Aadhaar in your business, right? And if you could keep it to 30 seconds, that would be awesome, and I'd like to go around everyone.
Okay. I think if there is a way where Aadhaar can simplify authentication of a customer without the customer having to either have another device or learn new behavior. If it simply works on what she already has and works seamlessly across, you know, access channels or use cases, I think we need to look beyond transaction authentication. Essentially, we're saying that authenticate the user, then let her do what she wants on the platform. Right? So if there is a trusted one place to go where the customer doesn't need to do anything more in terms of get a device or go to a place to authenticate herself, if we can work on what she already has with the behavior she already knows, and that can really remove the entire friction in the payment process, right? I mean, there is a reason why people who have debit cards, who've used it at offline stores, still pay cash on delivery on a mobile phone, right?
Pasna, your thoughts on Aadhaar and its impact from a wallet perspective?
Amazing for us. So close to 20 to 23% of our users are already maxing out the 10,000 limit, which is on limited KYC wallet. So as soon as we are able to do eKYC, you know, those users will be able to expand their usage on a monthly basis to 50,000, which is the current limit, and we expect that in the next guidelines, these limits will be raised even higher. So it's amazing that, you know, by just having their mobile number, do the Aadhaar.
And most
KYC.
of them are looking at their phones anyway when they use your product. So they could authenticate while using your product.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think it's a big enabler for us.
Okay, so but that's an authentication from a KYC perspective. Do you see the authentication from a transaction perspective also playing a role?
It could, but I think I would find it to be a larger enabler for the user authentication piece rather than the transaction authentication piece, because on the transaction our focus is on user experience, and there I don't find a good way to balance user experience and using Aadhaar for transaction authentication. We would want to use our own solution.
Okay. Madhu, you were at Visa during the days when Visa got involved in this program as well. What are your views on how this could scale up the program?
So if you sort of look at the word Aadhaar, it has 4 A's in it, and we used to sort of refer it as the 4 A's of payment challenges that exist in the market today. Your acquisition is a challenge which eKYC will solve for. Activation is a challenge where people don't use the account. A lot of dormancy happens because there's no real money coming in. With government programs, money is coming into account, so you will have activation happening. Acceptance is a challenge because there is no need for a merchant to actually set up a terminal and start accepting digital payments because there's no transactions happening. You know, it's a chicken and egg all the time with payments. And the last one is awareness, because you haven't had one single government program where there's so much of tom-tomming happening about for the right reasons across government, across industry, which is creating a general awareness about how we could use Aadhaar, you know, into our businesses. So it really sort of transforms, it could potentially transform the way payments happening. However, you can't, and the entire world is, you know, moving towards, you know, frictionless payment. You can't have, you know, biometric authentication happening at a food bazaar where you're shopping and there's 20 people standing in the queue. So there has to be a right mix of balance that should happen, which I think, you know, the industry and the consumer will sort of figure it out.
Okay. Sampath, are you going to say Aadhaar is also too early?
No, I think I agree with it actually. For us, it's very important that we get down to the KYC as soon as possible, because looking at the micro merchant, the risk of those merchants are very less, but you still have to go through that because the regulatory challenge, like hurdles around it, right? So we are trying to adopt that, but obviously on the technology side, there are much more kinks and you need to have a seamless solution. But on a personal note, I feel that we definitely needed a centralized citizen recognition platform in a way, right? And PAN card doesn't solve it. PAN is, technically speaking, a taxation thing. A bank account is a different thing for banking network. Aadhaar is typically the first citizen recognition.
Yeah, just to correct you, it is resident, not citizen.
Yeah, right. So I think for us, I think it's very advantageous to what we are trying to achieve with InstaMojo.
Great. Great, we're completely out of time, and I know everybody is also hungry, so I appreciate everyone staying back. Thanks everyone, thanks Shrikant, Upasna, Madhu and Sampath for making this panel. Most of them have come from out of town, except Shrikant, who's from down the road, but really appreciate you making the trek out here as well for the panel. Thank you very much. We have a small token gift for all of you.